Hello everybody, it is currently nighttime out, so I'm bored and I decided to make a little bit of a video. So welcome to another little installment of this ranked series. Today we're going to be counting Green Day's albums best to worst. Now laying down little ground rules and whatever, there are only studio albums allowed on this list, no live albums, nothing like that. So that just excludes like stuff like Bullet in the Bible, Awesome As, yeah. So let's get right into this list. Coming in at dead last is the last installment of the trilogy series, which they're all really bad, but Trey takes the cake for the worst. Trey, probably the most bland and bad out of all of them. I mean, Dos and Uno were either just okay. They were like either okay or a bit mediocre. Trey was mediocre and bad. I found myself falling asleep to it more than I did the other two parts of the trilogy. So yeah, I have nothing really to say about it, anything positive. Next up is Dos, the second installment of the trilogy series, and quite frankly, it's the same thing that with Trey. It had generally the same problems. Very, very boring, very little highs. In fact, I don't think there are any gems or like slight highs at all in Dos and Trey's. They were just boring. That's all I have to say about it. Like, they were either just okay, in some places really cringy, and just it sounded really polished and just reeked of just over cleany, squeaky cleaniness, and it really bothered me, especially on a Green Day album. Next up is a semi decent album, Uno. Uno actually had some redeeming quality. Uno actually had like a nuclear family and stuff like that. I mean, Uno was the only one I actually didn't fall asleep to while listening to it. Honest to God, I remember one time I was just like laying in bed with my lights off, just like listening to like the albums for this review, and I fell asleep. I fell asleep listening to them. But Uno, it actually has some energy to it, and you know what? I guess, well, that's really what you get when you force 3 albums down everyone's throats within a 2-month in-between period. All in 1 year, mind you, but a 2-month in-between per album. You good job, Green Day. Good job. Next up might be a little bit of a controversial spot, but 21st Century Breakdown. I wasn't really that fan I wasn't a big fan of this album, and mainly due to the fact it felt way too poppy and clean, and just like I don't know, it didn't feel like Green Day at all. It had there was little to no actual punk substance to it whatsoever. It just sounds like all the songs on that album just sound like they belonged at like the ending, like the music playing in the background of in the credits of a crappy Transformers movie, is something like that. Like, I just found it like just way too poppy and clean by Green Day and punk standards, at least. Next up is what? Can you guys read this? 1,000... Oh my God, Green Day, you guys are so stupid. 1,039 smoothed out happy hours. I mean, I'll give them credit for a good title. So yeah, this was Green Day's first studio album, and it's probably one of their worst. Well, not worst per se, but one of their least enjoyable. You know, I tried liking it as much as I can. I walked into this album wanting to be different from everyone else. Like, for the most part, when people like talk about this album, they just don't really think that highly of it. And I want to be that odd person who liked this album, but it was just the same thing over and over and track over and over again. There's very little substance to it. But you can't really blame them. They were like Billy and the rest of the band were so young at a time. You can't really blame everything on them. I mean, youth has its drawbacks. Next up might be another controversial spot, Revolution Radio. I was not fond of this album. It was very, very cringy for me personally. Lyrics were very cringy, and what's with the production value on this album? Almost on every song, like on the intro, they have like the volume completely like turned down, and then at the chorus, it just absolutely just like destroys your speakers. And what Green Day was kind of thinking, like, oh yeah, we're gonna make this huge punch, like pack a huge punch at the chorus. Well, what you're actually doing is getting people to turn up the volume all the way on their headphones, and some people, for me, who use super loud Beats headphones, and like wondering what the heck is going on, and then when the chorus comes along, they're just absolutely deafened by this crap. But other than that, it was okay. Really, it was okay. Don't kill me for not liking Revolution Radio that much. Just wasn't my taste. Okay, now we're actually getting into the good stuff worth checking out. Now, the reason why I may have like some albums so low is because I like certain ones just a hair bit better. But here we go. Next up is Nimrod, and Nimrod, boy, is this actually pretty good. It had, it truly has that just pop punky, just bouncing off the walls feel to it, and it also has its softer spots like Time of Your Life. But I think the best song on that album has got to be Hitch and Ride. That's probably one of Green Day's best songs and really catchy, and I think it just gives off the perfect punk kind of vibe. Next up is actually one of my personal favorites and very underlooked and just underappreciated in my opinion album, Kerplunk. Kerplunk. Like, everyone seems to just give this an album a pass and just that's it. But I actually like this album a lot. I mean, most people don't actually know. This is the album where Welcome to Paradise originally came from, and then they remastered it on Dookie. But there's also other good songs on Kerplunk, really worth checking out. 2,000 Light Years Away, probably my favorite song on the album. 80, Android, the list goes on. Now, this is, in my opinion, Green Day at its maybe like second or at its second highest or third highest within like punk and just completely energetic, bouncing off the walls after just injecting like 50 pounds worth of cocaine, like kind of energy Green Day, and that's the stuff I really, really like. Next up has got to be the most underrated album ever, Warning. What is with people's thing and Warning and just like literally not acknowledging its existence whatsoever? Really, some of the best work some of the most emotional work I've actually heard from Green Day, and catchy as hell work coming from Green Day on this album. Stuff like the title track and one of my top 10 favorite Green Day songs, Waiting. Waiting is what really takes the cake for this album, and I think it's really good. Oh, top 3. Here we go. Next up, we have Insomniac. Insomniac gotta be some of my favorite material from Green Day. For like I'll give you 3 good reasons. Panic Song, Brain Stew, and Jaded. Those 3 songs alone are like all Green Day really needed for this to be a good album. But no, there is also other good stuff on this album too. Like it really brings out kind of like the psychopathic kind of feel. In some places it's like relaxed and stuff like Brain Stew, and in other places like Panic Song and jaded. It's just absolutely, you get this, like psychopathic like view, like, especially on Brain Stew, you just get like this view of like this crazy, possibly heroin addicted kind of guy. It's just, I love the vibe. I love the darker vibe Insomniac was going for, and it's just beautiful. The big two. Now, some of you guys are actually gonna kill me for this, but next up in number 2 spot is American Idiot. Don't shush. I know you guys may be screaming in the comments, American Idiots should be number 1. And you know what? I don't blame you, but as good as an album this is, this next album, which you guys should know if you don't have any process of elimination. I mean, this is Green Day, like, at its, most, like, widespread acceptance. Like, I find it's their most widespread and most acceptable album for all listeners alike. Whether you're, like, a country fan or a pop fan or even a metal fan, I feel like no matter what, you could still, like, pick up a few tracks on this album and, like it. You don't have to like the whole album, but I think it's the most widely accepted and liked and appreciated album. I find it very widespread. In a good way. Number 1 is Green Day at its finest within punk standards, Dookie. Dookie is just absolute. What do I even have to explain? Anything? Do I even have to give Dookie any words? Burnout, She, Longview, When I Come Around, just Basket Case, Welcome to Paradise, which I should really give the credit to on Kerplunk, because just a remastered version. But oh my god. This album has got to be one of the best, if not, like, top 3 best albums of the 90s. Or even, like, in, like, punk history. Next to your Smash and stuff like that. But that's a different video. Dookie has got to have the, like, some of the most best Green Day songs probably ever. Just loaded with gems. Every song just packs a huge punk. I mean, this was Green Day arguably at its finest. And you know what? I will defend this at the number 1 spot any day of the week. So, did you like this video? Did you not like this video? If you did like this video, then subscribe. If you didn't like this video, then subscribe. If you absolutely love this video, or if you want to, like, just make out with me, then ladies. But if you hate this video, just subscribe. If you like it a lot, like it a little bit, I don't care. Just subscribe to me, or else, yeah, you guys are the best. Bye bye.